Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast. Hope you're having an absolutely fantastic 4th of July if you're in America. I know it's a really important day as you all go out and party and barbecue and have a good time and catch up with friends and family. And isn't it wonderful to know that we can actually do that now, that we don't have any restrictions of COVID, that we can actually sort of celebrate a really important milestone. And, you know, for each and every country around the world, they have their own special sort of 4th of July day. But I know it's important. I have many American friends and they really do make a big deal out of it. And I think it's wonderful to see people being so patriotic and putting the flag out the front and just celebrating being alive. And I think that's really important. We should all do a little bit more of that, of celebrating of being alive. So the Simply Tarot card of the week this week is called the 8 of Cups. Now, the 8 of Cups can mean money problems. Now, look, I mean, there wouldn't be a person on the planet that hasn't had a money problem or two at some stage or another in their life. And I think at the moment, as the economy seems to be sort of slowing down a little bit and people are sort of more conscious of their finances and starting to look at where they're spending their money and making sure that they're getting value for their money, that's what this card represents to me more than anything, is just making sure that you've got your finances in tip-top shape, the best that you can have them. The secondary meaning of this card is turning your back and walking away, knowing nothing more can be done. Now, sometimes we have to turn our back and walk away from situations or issues in our life because we know there is nothing more that we can do. We've done as much as we can do. We've analysed it from every single angle. We've tried everything humanly possible, and there's nothing left to do but to just simply walk away. And sometimes that is the only answer or the only solution to a situation. And sometimes this can be a very difficult time when you need to make a decision like that. If you're walking away from a relationship or a job or a situation or a family member, but you agonise over it and you really do feel quite weighed down. But you know in your heart of hearts, if you don't do this, then there is no other solution. It's going to drag you down with it. And sometimes it's the only way that we can handle a situation is to walk away. So it's really interesting because, you know, people sort of always say to me, how do you handle sort of emotional, tricky situations with family or loved ones and things like that? My answer to that is you do what's in your heart. You do what you can do, the very best that you can do. But sometimes you've got to turn around and make a decision to put yourself first and say, I wash my hands of this situation, and that's what that card is all about. So moving on to the astrology section of the show, we still have the sun in Cancer. It's a really special, magical time of the year for our Cancerians. It's their birthday time of the year. And it's a time when I think the rest of us should start to sort of look at nurturing ourselves a little bit more. It's the time of the year where when the sun's in Cancer, it's asking us not necessarily to spend a lot of time at home, but to look at things that make us feel happy and secure, you know, nurture ourselves a little bit more. And I know it's a time when a lot of people sort of say to me, oh, you know, particularly here in Australia with it being winter, a lot of people say to me, oh, it's a great time of the year to snuggle up with a good book on the couch or turn the telly on and watch, you know, binge watch your favourite series or something like that as you're, you know, giving a little bit of me time. And for the people in the Northern Hemisphere, me time can be going for a walk in the woods, going for a barbecue, getting in the great outdoors, spending some time at the beach or the swimming hole, you know, just generally getting out in nature. I think nature is very, very healing. So wherever you are in your part of the world, do something special for yourself this week and nurture yourself a little bit while the sun is in Cancer. So the sun in Cancer is holding hands or conjunct with Mercury, the planet of communication. Now, when we have the sun and Mercury holding hands like this, it's the perfect time if you need to bring up some tricky situation in a family situation. If you've been putting off having a conversation about something because you didn't know how to bring it up, now's the time to do so, because the energy is, even though it's strong, it can be sort of gentle and caring and nurturing and sort of wash over everybody, and not everybody's emotions are on frazzled edges like they are sometimes. So it's the perfect time to bring things up. For other people, it may just be about enjoying time with family and friends and people that make you feel happy and secure, and lots of laughter and lots of conversations, and, you know, having a game of outdoor cricket or, you know, badminton or whatever tickles your fancy with the family. And it's just a great family time where everybody's happy and laughing and enjoying themselves and enjoying being together. And I think more and more people now are starting to focus on what is important, which is family and friends and get-togethers and special occasions, and reunions seem to be popping up everywhere. People are getting together after being locked up for so long that they feel the need to sort of reconnect with their past or their childhood or their school friends or whatever the case may be, or family. And it's a time when there is a lot more gatherings going on. We also have Venus, the planet of love and affection, is conjunct or holding hands Mars in Leo. Now, it's really interesting when you start to see Venus and Mars come together like that in Leo, because Venus is sort of looking for love, wants the really pretty side of life, wants everything to be fairy floss pink and really pretty and comfortable, and feels very comfortable, where Mars in a sense is sort of like a male dominant sort of planet. It wants, you know, high energy, it wants to get out there, it wants to prove that they're the number one. So it's almost like a female male energy sort of coming together here in the sign of Leo. And Leo really is a really interesting sign, because most people think of Leo and they think of shiny and they think of gold and they think of performances and stage performances and getting out there and strutting the stuff. They don't always look at Leo as being sort of shy and timid. And you've got to look at it in the two sides of it. You know, Leo can be the boring lion, or it can be the very tiny, timid little pussycat that's sort of, you know, the little kitten that sort of sneaks its head out above the blankets and sort of says, is it safe to come out into the world? So there's two sides to Leo. So it's sort of like when you're looking at Venus conjunct Mars, it's almost like we're bringing in both sides of the Leo at the same time. There can be the feminine, gentle sort of side of Venus sort of saying, I really would like some love in my life. I really would like to meet someone special, but I'm a little bit nervous, or I'm a little bit frightened. Then the male dominant side of Mars coming in, sort of saying, come on, what's your problem? Come on, get out there, strap your stuff, you know, get out and do something with your life. You know, don't sit on the couch and sort of say, I want love and that never comes to me. You got to make it happen. Look, both of them are right. I'm not saying one's right and one's wrong. I'm saying maybe a combination of both would be really good. And I think that that's the really important message here, is if you are seeking love, step out of your comfort zone a little bit. Go somewhere that you don't normally go. Allow yourself to put your best foot forward and sort of really show the world who you are and what you're made of. But don't try and pretend to be something that you're not. Be yourself, because that's what people will learn to love, is the real you, not the pretend you, not the one that you put on for show. Just be yourself, be natural, and you'll attract the right sort of person. We also have Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion, but I always look at Neptune as being much, much more creative, and Neptune is still in the final stages of Pisces. So we're going to start to see some creative solutions, I think, coming from the whole 12 signs, not just Pisces. There's going to be solutions that are going to come sort of literally out of nowhere. They're going to be different, maybe a different way of approaching a problem or a situation, and sort of thinking, wow, I don't know why I hadn't thought of that before. That's a much, much better approach, or it's a much gentler approach, or it's a much more palatable approach to a situation or a problem that you may have had. It's an incredibly creative time. So we're going to start to see people that are songwriters and artists and painters and things like that sort of really getting into their groove, being able to find their mojo again after what might have been a little bit of a dry spell for them. So I think it's going to be a time in, you know, a couple of years' time, we're going to hear a lot of new songs that have come out of this era of Neptune in Pisces, where, you know, songwriters have really sort of put pen to paper and sort of been going flat out with the lyrics and the words. And, you know, it's about time, I think, we had some new meaningful songs coming out, you know, on our radios. You know, I'm a little bit old fashioned. I like the old stuff because it has me. They got a hit record. So, you know, maybe things might just swing back into a little bit more balance that suits all of us, not just one part of the market. We have Jupiter, the planet of expansion and opportunity, is sitting in Taurus. So Jupiter is asking each and every one of the 12 signs to start to look at, if you know, you have an opportunity now to take on board new projects. You have the opportunity to sort of really start to create, and I understand that and I appreciate that. But you can still sort of start to feel as if you're wealthy within yourself, that you've achieved paying off your credit card, or you finally paid that final payment on the car payment. They're major achievements in your life. And this is what Jupiter is showing you, that there is opportunities here for major achievements. We need to pat ourselves on the back and say a job well done as we go through things. Even the smallest achievements of paying off a $500 credit card can be a major achievement in someone's life. So if we start to look at the major achievements that, you know, are major to us and be grateful and thankful and say to ourselves, a job well done, then we'll start to open up the door to more prosperity and more opportunities coming in for us looking for a second job to boost their income because things are getting so expensive. Whatever the case may be, if you are on the job hunt, doesn't matter what your star sign is, there's going to be some opportunities that are going to present themselves. Make sure they're exactly what you want. Don't just jump ship for the sake of jumping ship. Make sure that, you know, there is better money, better conditions, better whatever it is that you're looking for, that you can then settle into a job that can become something that'll be there for a number of years. And I think that's really important because Jupiter in Taurus is asking us to expand our horizons, but expand them in a way that we're putting down a good foundation and a solid place to build upon, that we can start to sort of lay some foundation stones for the future. That, you know, if we're going to change jobs or change careers, it's got to be something that we're looking at to be long term, not something that's a short term fill in gap situation, unless that's all you're looking for. But most people are looking for a little bit more security and an ability to be able to sort of get their finances back on track, organised again, and start to make a little bit more money. And that's really important. We're going to take our first caller, which is Catherine in Denver in Colorado. Are you there, Catherine?
I am. Hello. Thank you so much for taking my call.
You're very, very welcome, Catherine. Do you have a question I can answer for you today?
Yes, please. I'm curious about, if you don't mind, two areas of my life: love and work and finance.
Okay. So is there anybody in particular in the love department that you want me to look at? And if so, can I just have their first initial, please?
Yeah, he's my partner. His name is Joe.
Joe, okay. That's all I need to know. Really, really interesting. Has Joe been going through a difficult time lately where he's had to make some changes in his life? And I'm not just talking about the relationship, I'm talking about wider area of his life. Has there been changes with family structure, jobs, where he's living, things like that? Because everything seems to be very much up in the air. And he seems to be confused is not the right word. I think I'd go more with bewildered at the way people have reacted or some of the responses or the things that have happened, and he's shaking his head and saying, well, I would never have thought of it that way, or I would never have thought that person would have behaved in that manner. And look, it's not that he's an idiot. I don't believe that for 1 second. It's just that people around him seem to have lost all common sense, is the only way I can put it. And I think what he needs to do is just sort of say, well, okay, as long as it doesn't affect us, it doesn't affect me, then they can do what they like with their lives. You know, I don't have to agree with it, but I don't have to be a party to it either. You know, he can pull back a little bit.
Sure.
It's interesting because when I ask him about the relationship with you two and where you're going, he keeps saying to me he's not sure. Now, I don't believe he's not sure because he doesn't want it. I think it's just that because there's been so much that's gone on in the background that we've touched on very lightly, that's, I think, made him a little bit unsure of things. Do you know what I mean? It's not that he's unsure of you, and it's not that he's unsure of the relationship. He's unsure of all these other things that seem to have been out of his control, that have seemed to have infiltrated or come into the relationship that shouldn't have. And it's like, well, how can I sort of get some sort of order out of all this and turn around and say to Catherine, you know, we can do this, 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 and this, and this, when everything else is just so unpredictable. Look, I know he loves you. I know you love him. I think the most important thing at the moment is just be there for each other. Don't try and sort of put any sort of great definite decisions just yet. Let's just take hour by hour and let it all sort of unfold. What they're showing me, by about September, October this year, things become a lot clearer. And then I think there's a fairly serious discussion between the two of you about what the next step is in the relationship. And I actually feel it's coming together stronger. So the two of you aren't living together yet?
We are partners, but we are not married. We live part-time together. He's in the middle of exiting from a abusive relationship. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I just sort of felt by about October, it was sort of like they were showing me it was the two of you were coming together so much stronger. So if you were living in separate places of abode, you were going to come together.
More strength in October. I love that. That's a great thing to hold on to. Thank you. I like that.
Yeah, and to me,
Okay,
it was
good
sort of
hope
so
ahead.
much so much better. Look, it's a personal thing whether or not you end up getting, church married or not. But to me, the union is there. It's strong. It's rock solid. It's coming together in such a way that it will be very reliable and dependable for both of you. And I really like him. I think he's a really nice guy. It's just that everything seems to have felt like everything that he thought that was in place, it was like somebody came along and pulled the rug from underneath him, and he didn't know what to do next. So just hang in there, Catherine. Now, your other question was about finances, wasn't it, Catherine?
Yeah, I was forced into an early retirement from a career I loved because of medical condition a year ago, almost today. I started another job, did the job for 7 months. I was let go because I just didn't meet the standards. It was in the financial industry, which I had no interest in. And now I'm out of work and searching for work again. I'm just trying to find something to be passionate about. I missed the job that I would love that I was passionate about, but I hate having to redevelop myself yet again. This is the fourth time I had to start from scratch again. I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going.
Yeah. Evan, it's always hard when we're forced into sort of making changes like this, but I always believe that there's the master plan that somebody's got in their hand for each and every one of us that, if we're lucky enough to tap into, we then find the direction we need to go. I appreciate that, this has been many times now you've had to reinvent yourself. But what they kept showing me out of this is that in time you'll look back at it and say, I can see why this had to happen, because if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have got to here. I do actually feel that there's going to be a new job coming. I'm going to say working with people, and I'm going to say utilising a lot of your previous skills, but I want to package it up and put it into a different label. And it's like when you get into the job, it's satisfying, it's rewarding, there's reasonable money there, but the most important thing is your heart is singing again. You feel comfortable, you feel secure again. And it's not, I'm never any good at sort of saying to it specifically this type of profession because they just show me symbolism. But what they were showing me was that you were going to be happy. There was an opportunity there to sort of earn a little bit more money than the wage itself. So I was actually sort of leaning towards sort of like a day job and then the potential of you starting up something as a side gig that, was like a hobby that was going to bring you extra income as well. So again, I think just go with the flow. I think you'll have a job as early as the end of the month. So, just keep your eyes and your ears open and just go with what's presented to you, even if you think, well, as long as it feels okay, then that's what it's going to develop into an amazing job. It may not have been the sort of thing that you would have gone on a job site looking for, but this one will just sort of jump out at you. Anyway, Catherine, that's where we have to leave it. So we're going to talk with Nicole now in Upland, California, USA. Are you there, Nicole?
Oh, yes, I am.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Nicole?
No, I was just wondering if I could get like a general reading.
It's easier for me if I can answer a question for you because we have such limited time, Nicole. So, whether it's a love question, a money question, a job question, should I move?
Okay, how about love and job or job?
Okay, all right. The first thing that they're showing me, Nicole, is that there's a number of endings, changes and transformations going on around you. So this year's been a year where I think you've been really sorting things out. Is that how you feel the year's been?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Nicole, it's really interesting because I do feel that there will be a job change, but I don't think it's going to be till towards the end of this year. And it's something that I think that you're going to have to think long and hard about before with what's going to take place. I do feel that you are going to find that you're going to move into another area of work that may be something slightly different to what you've been trained for, and you'll feel comfortable with the transition. Everything will sort of move forward in the way that it should, and it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. As far as love life's concerned, it's sort of really interesting because they're showing me that it's not as if you've got a lack of love in your life. I just don't know that there's that someone really, really significantly special. And that's sort of where I want to sort of sit on the fence a little bit. I felt that you were already in a relationship or in the early stages of one, but it's not making my heart sing. It's sort of like it's very comfortable, but I feel I want more. I feel that this year will be a year of where it's not the time to just sort of accept second best. You know, sometimes we stay in situations because, well, something's better than nothing. Well, this is not the year to do that, Nicole. You've worked so hard on yourself in other areas that I want to sort of say to you, it's time now to really fling the door open to sort of what the universe can bring in for you. There is going to be some new exciting opportunities, as we've already spoken about with work, but I also feel that there's going to be some really interesting, different people that are going to cross your path this year that are going to show you that there's more to life than what you've begun to imagine or even thought possible for a very, very long time. Now, life is really starting to sort of open up for you in many, many areas. And I'm going to say on an intuitive level as well, there's more opportunity there to really start listening to your inner voice, to the things that are really starting to present themselves in the way that you would like them to. And that's good because, you know, we all have a certain amount of psychic ability. It's a matter of whether we learn to work with it and trust it and follow what our hunches are, our gut feeling is. And, you know, obviously the more we use it, the stronger it gets and those sort of things. I don't know that I'm suggesting that you head towards a career as being a psychic, but I do want to see you listen to your hunches, to your inner voice a little bit more, Nicole, because it won't guide you in the wrong direction. And it's also interesting too, because they're showing me a number of people from your past that you've dealt with and you've pushed to one side or sort of felt, well, that part of my life is complete, seem to be coming back towards you too. And it's like I want to say to you, be aware of that, be careful with it. Some people aren't meant to be back in your life. If you get a bad feeling about it, then follow that hunch. Don't just sort of ignore it and think, oh, well, we were friends for 20 years. Maybe I should give them another chance. If your instincts are telling you not to give them another chance, then don't give them another chance. Look at things for what they truly are, and I think you'll be fine. Whatever changes you've made health-wise, continue on because your energy levels are really starting to sort of come right back up again, Nicole, and that's good. I feel really comfortable with that. I feel really comfortable with where your life is sort of taking you now. So that's where we're going to leave Nicole. We've come to the end of the show again. It's a really, really interesting week, as I said, around the world. Our friends in the USA are celebrating the happy 4th of July, and I hope they're all partying on and having lots of fun out in the sunshine and the fresh air. Here in Australia, we have a really big week. It's called NAIDOC Week, and this is the week where we celebrate our First Nations people, our Indigenous Aboriginal people, and it's a week of celebrations and partying and cultural events and just sharing the culture with each and every one of us here in Australia. And it's growing momentum each year as we start to look more importantly towards bringing them into more of our Indigenous brothers and sisters around the world. They should all have a voice in their own democracy. So this week it is a big week here, as I said, NAIDOC Week. And what I'm going to do is leave you with a song this week that was very popular here in Australia. And most people might know this man, not necessarily for his singing qualities, but for his other profession that he was very, very well known for. And he was a boxer, and his name is Lionel Rose. Now, Lionel Rose, a very, very talented boxer many, many years ago now, but he was also a very famous musician here in Australia. And he sang a very beautiful song that I think goes across all nationalities. It's not just for Indigenous people. I think it goes across Caucasian and Asian and Indian and you name it, and our beautiful Negro friends. And it's called I Thank You. And it's a beautiful love song about thanking his partner, the love of his life, for all the wonderful things that they've brought to their life. And I think we can all do a little bit more of that, of saying I thank you. Until next week, bye for now.